Hi, folks. I've been gone for a couple of weeks. I know some of you are concerned about my cancer. It has nothing to do with the cancer. I got the flu. Now I'm doing fine, so we're back on. Well, folks, if you watched the presidential debate this last week, you know America's in trouble. One candidate gaslit us. The other candidate was so thin skinned they could not stay on message. Now, I was not impressed, but here's reality neither one can save America. In my personal opinion, one of the candidates will accelerate the collapse of our economy and culture. The other will slow down the slide and maybe even prop us up for a while. But neither one can stop it. We're well past that point. However, there are five things you can do that politicians cannot. Five things you can do to help save America. This is Brad Bright. Welcome to the God is Issue podcast, where I show how God is the issue in every issue. Folks, politicians cannot save us because politics only addresses symptoms. It cannot address core problems. It can throw money at poverty, but it cannot correct the problem of single parent homes. See, which is the primary cause of poverty in America. It can take away guns, but it cannot heal the hurt and alienation that drives violence in the first place. It can pass laws against racism and racist behavior all day long, but it can never cure hate within the human heart. It can bail out banks, but it can never erase the greed and short term gratification that results in bad business decisions. You see, our moral behavior and our economic behavior is merely a symptom of how we see God. If God does not exist or is irrelevant, why is greed wrong? Why is cheating on your spouse sinful? Why is racism immoral? Why is cutting off the arms and legs of a fetus wrong? If God is irrelevant or doesn't exist, none of these things are really wrong, are they? In fact, morality itself becomes nothing more than a fairy tale that we tell ourselves is true because the alternative is beyond frightening. Now, here's the question every atheist and agnostic must answer. If God does not exist or is irrelevant, what obligates me to be moral? The law, which is created often by self-serving, crooked politicians? Government, which is run by those same slimy politicians and bureaucrats that they hire? The courts, adjudicated by glorified ambulance chasers wearing black robes? If you believe that a black robe somehow makes a person morally superior to you, you haven't watched enough TV. Or what about academic elites who rarely test their ideas in the real world before telling the rest of us how we should behave? Or psychologists who became psychologists in the first place because they couldn't even figure out themselves? Or philosophers who don't primarily seek to discover truth, but try to justify what they already believe as truth? Or what about survival of the fittest, folks? You know, which naturalistic evolution teaches us the origin of our existence. Now, if it's truly the origin of our existence, it must also be de facto the basis of our morality. So please explain to me using simple words, how does survival of the fittest imply we should be kind? Or not be racist? Or have compassion for the poor? How do you get from survival of the fittest, that is dog eat dog, to love your neighbor? Can someone please explain that to me? Now, here's the dirty secret that few are willing to admit, even to themselves, because the implications are so horrific. If God does not exist, then I get to appoint myself God because I say so. Much like experts in a court of law who are experts because they say they're experts, if I so choose, I can choose to become Friedrich Nietzsche's Übermensch, just like Adolf Hitler did. And you know, who do you think you are to tell me otherwise? Are you my moral superior in a dog-eat-dog universe? I don't think so. So now that I've depressed you, may I give you hope? There are five things you can do starting today to help save America. First, you can pray. I know some of you just rolled your eyes. Some of you just yawned. I know some of you are saying, Brad, I've already tried that, but it didn't work. Well, maybe the real problem was you didn't pray nearly enough. Did you take time to listen when you talked with God? Look, God is the smartest and strongest guy in the room. If you're not going to talk with the smartest guy in the room about the things that really matter to you, what does that tell you about you? Furthermore, the core problem in America is not an economic problem or a cultural problem. It's a heart problem, folks. And who's better at changing people's hearts, you, the government, or God? What we need in this nation is not just a few hearts to change, but a whole lot of hearts to change. And folks, that's called revival. Are you asking God for revival? If not, then don't blame God for the problems around you. Look no further than yourself. I remember when my parents, hearing my parents talk about when they started Campus Crusade for Christ at UCLA in 1951. Their first two attempts in the spring of 1951 were complete flops. No one responded. No one. So they did one thing differently before they tried again the third time that fall. They started a 24-hour prayer chain asking God to work on the campus of UCLA. They asked their friends and fellow church members to pray with them. They filled every 15-minute slot in that prayer chain, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That fall, at the very first event, over half the students at the event responded saying they would like to start a relationship with God. The next day, same thing. And the movement exploded onto the UCLA campus. What made the difference? The only thing that changed was that there was some serious praying that went on ahead of time. That was the only difference. Folks, if you want to save America, but you're not talking to the smartest guy in the room, how successful do you really think you're going to be? If you're not praying, then I suggest you go home now, close the door, and wait for the end to come. Because if you're acting without praying, you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. That's part of the reason why my brother once said the greatest tragedy in life is when we stop talking to God. Now, the second thing you can do is work with others. In my book, God is the Issue, I talk about being a leader, not a loner, because loners are losers. Not because they're bad people, but because you cannot change the world alone. If you want to bring about significant change, you must act together with others. You must act in unison in pursuit of a single, compelling, common goal. See, that's how Jesus brought together Simon the Zealot, who wanted to overthrow the Romans by force, and Matthew, who collected taxes for the Romans. Talk about complete opposites. That's like putting Donald Trump and Kamala Harris on the same team and expecting them to work together. Can you even imagine that? You see, Jesus called them both to an even greater cause. A common, compelling purpose allows people to put aside real differences for the sake of the greater cause. Furthermore, you can do far more working together than you can alone. I remember when I lived in Phoenix, I helped to start a group who wanted to reach the top leaders of Arizona for Jesus Christ. Now, once a quarter, they'd hold an event for no more than, say, 50 top leaders. It was hosted by one of the leading businessmen in the city. And we would bring in a United States senator or some highly recognized business or thought leader to talk about their success and then about how and why they became a follower of Jesus. I remember a few days after one of the events, the businessman who hosted the event for us received a letter from one of the recent attendees who in his own right was also very influential in the city. And the attendee said he was deeply offended by the emphasis on Jesus and made a veiled threat regarding possible future events. The host called me to apprise me of the situation. Now, instead of having the host respond, two other leading businessmen who were involved with us made an appointment with the man who had complained. And they met with him and were very gracious, but it made it clear we were going to continue holding similar events and talking about Jesus. We never heard any further complaints from that man. Do you know why? He realized he wasn't going up against just one isolated individual. If he chose to proceed, he'd be going up against a group of well-organized leaders. You see, if you can isolate someone, you can stop them dead in their tracks. It's a lot harder, though, to stop a unified group. You see, if I have your back and you have my back, we'll both keep going for a lot longer together than we would alone. Once I feel isolated, I'm much more likely to give up. See, there's power in unity. See, there's an African proverb that I absolutely love. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Folks, we've got a long way to go, so let's go together. Do you want to help save America? Don't even try to go it alone. Let me encourage you to pull together a community action group of like-minded people. This is not a group where you hold hands and sing Kumbaya. It's a group of like-minded individuals who dream together, plan together, and act together. See, there is power in unity. Jesus had his 12, Vladimir Lenin had his 17. It only takes a handful to change the world. Now, the third thing you can do is vote. Some of you just rolled your eyes, but let me ask you, according to the Bible, if you're a follower of Jesus, are you a steward or owner of your money? Are you a steward or owner of your time? Are you a steward or owner of your talents and abilities? Now, in light of that, let me ask you, are you a steward or owner of your vote? If your money, time, and talent come from God, where does your vote come from? It comes from God too. In a constitutional republic, God gives each one of us one vote. According to Matthew chapter 25, you know the parable of the talents. You can either invest it or you can bury it in the dirt. Which do you think pleases God more? Investing what he gives you or burying what he gives you in the dirt? I encourage you to go read the parable of the talents in Matthew 25 tonight and ask yourself this. As a steward of everything the Master gives me, what does it look like to invest my vote? And what does it look like to bury my vote in the dirt? And more importantly, how does my choice make the Master feel? Now, let me be clear. Voting is not going to change anyone's heart, but it can change the behavior of your elected representatives. It does help to suppress some of the symptoms of living in a fallen world. And folks, if you can't vote for major change, then vote for incremental change. You see, baby steps can take you a long, long way down the road over time. If you have to choose to be a tortoise, not a hare. Oh, and remember those community action groups I talked about earlier? This is a great place to use them to divvy up the research on the various candidates and issues on the ballot and to encourage other believers to be a good steward of their vote as well. Now, if you want some tips on how to figure out how to vote, go to bradbright.org. I will post it under the blog section. It's completely nonpartisan. Download it, print it off, give it away. Now, the fourth thing you can do is vote with your wallet. See, as I mentioned earlier, you are a steward, not the owner of the financial resources God gives you. We all know that how you spend and invest your money is a critical part of being a good steward. But what most of us don't think about is where we spend our money can be just as important as how we spend our money. Let me repeat that. Where we spend our money can be just as important as how we spend our money. See, spending money wisely is both about how we spend it and where we spend it. Now, think of every business as your child. See, with our kids, we reward good behavior and discourage bad behavior, don't we? Do the same with businesses where you can shop. Think of them like a child who needs to be encouraged to do the right thing. Spend your money at businesses who do not dishonor God or promote what God says is wrong. Let me ask you, what happens when you reward good behavior? You usually get more of it, don't you? What happens when you penalize bad behavior? You usually get less of it. You are a steward of your money. And like with voting, spending your money wisely will not change hearts, but it may change behavior. It can help suppress some of the negative symptoms of living in a fallen world. And once again, folks, your community action group is a great place to discuss which businesses you want to support financially and which ones you don't. See, by pooling your combined knowledge, you can probably come up with a few businesses you want to encourage and a few you want to encourage to change. See, over time, most businesses are very responsive to what consumers want and what they don't want. You know, what happened to Budweiser last year was just one dramatic example of the power you have as a consumer. But remember, although dramatic change is exciting, most substantive change is a result of many baby steps over time. Never forget that. Now, the fifth and final thing you can do is make God the issue in every issue. You see, we can trace all our human problems to our view of God. That's part of why Peter and Paul never told pagans to change their behavior. They always told them to change their God. Sometimes I get the impression that many followers of Jesus think they can somehow force non-believers to think and act like believers through political and social action. Why on earth would you expect a pagan to act like anything but a pagan? See, now you can get limited behavioral change by how you vote or where you spend your money. That's true. But if you want real, lasting, substantive change, you have to change hearts, not just behavior. How do you do that? You do that by making God the issue, first in your own life and then the lives of those around you. But it has to start in your own heart because, unlike the federal government, you can't give away what you don't own. Folks, all of our cultural brokenness flows directly from a broken view of God. Abortion, same sex marriage, racism, transsexuality, broken borders, broken homes, fatherless homes, school shootings. They all flow from a broken view of God. And that includes many folks who claim to be Christians. Now, at its core, it's a heart problem, not a behavioral problem. It's a problem of how we view God, not how we view cultural issues. Now, I'm going to be talking more about this with greater specificity in the weeks to come, and I'm going to give you some specific things you can do to help. But the bottom line is this: if we want to change culture, we must change the culture's view of God, starting with our neighbor next door. And it includes looking for people who are looking for God. It's about telling your personal God story to anyone who will listen. But it's also about connecting the dots in practical ways between America's view of God and America's future, giving our neighbors hope for the future. You see, God is the issue in every issue, including how to save America. This is Brad Bright. Thanks for joining me today. And as always, if you found this podcast helpful, please like and subscribe. And when subscribing, don't forget to click on the bell so you'll be notified whenever I publish a new podcast. God bless. And may God save America through you and others like you.